When I ask you right now if you are a liar, you would instinctively say no. You would say that you are a man of integrity, telling the truth to your boss or your wife or your friends. You are convinced that you are right. But the fact is, that doesn't even matter, because the most dangerous lies are not the ones that you tell to other people. They are the lies that you tell to the face in the mirror. You were trying to build a skyscraper. You were trying to build discipline, a legacy, a standard. You read the books, you buy the planners, you even wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Yet every time you get a few stories high, the building cracks, the windows shatter, and the structure collapses. And right now you're probably thinking that you just need a better planner or a new morning routine. But it's not because you use cheap steel, and it's not because you didn't work hard enough. The worst possible thing that you can do for your self-development is to try to build a skyscraper on a swamp. You cannot build a structure of discipline on a foundation of self-deception. It is a structural impossibility. When the ground beneath your feet is liquid, when your reality is based off of rationalizations and half-truths and the kind lies that you might tell to yourself to make yourself feel better, then nothing you build can stand. Today we are going to do something painful because we are going to drain the swamp. We are going to look at the psychology of self-honesty. We are going to dissect the ego, the mechanism of rationalization, and the identified victim complex that keeps you small. And we are going to lay a new foundation made of concrete and made of truth. You see, most people stop analyzing themselves right here, but it's the next phase where the real sabotage happens. But let's start with the biology. Why do we lie to ourselves? It is not because we are evil. Instead, it is because we are efficient. Your brain has two primary directives: to survive and to conserve energy. The truth is expensive. The truth requires you to change, to admit fault, and to expend metabolic energy to reconstruct your identity. But the lie is cheap. The lie allows you to stay exactly where you are. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance. This is the mental discomfort you feel when your actions don't match your beliefs. You believe that you are a disciplined man, a healthy man, but your action says that you just ate a pizza and that you skipped the gym today. This gap creates tension and it hurts. To fix the pain, you have two choices. You can change the action. You can go on a 5-mile run to burn the pizza, which is hard and expensive. Or you can change the narrative. You can say something like, I deserved a cheat day, or I worked hard and I'll start tomorrow. This is easy and cheap. Your brain, efficiently designed to avoid pain, will choose option 2 almost every single time. It builds a bridge of lies to fill the gap so you don't have to fall in. This is the function of the ego. We think of the ego as pride, but in this context, your ego is the internal defense attorney. Its only job is to protect your self-image. It doesn't care about the truth. It cares about the verdict. When you fail, your ego stands up in the courtroom of your mind and starts to object. Objection, Your Honor. The defendant isn't lazy. He's exhausted from work. Objection, Your Honor. He didn't quit. He's pivoting. Objection, Your Honor. It's not his fault. It's his childhood. It's the economy. It's your wife. The ego spins the story where you are never the villain. You are always the hero of the story or victim of circumstance. As long as you listen to your lawyer, you will never go to jail, but you will also never be free. Now you're probably wondering what the real cost of this mental courtroom actually is. Here is the problem with listening to the lawyer. Reality is a math problem. When you spend more than you earn, you are broke. The math doesn't care about your excuses. When you eat more than you burn, you are fat. The math doesn't care about your thyroid or your stress. When you use self-deception to smooth over the edges of reality, you are introducing a variable of error into your life's equation. You are calculating your trajectory based on bad data. For example, you say that you are doing okay financially, but the truth is you are $20,000 in debt. Another is you might say that you have a good marriage, but the truth is you haven't had a real conversation in months. You can ignore the math for a while and you can build a few floors on the swamp, but gravity always wins. Eventually, the weight of the reality that you ignored will crush the structure that you built. And when it crashes, what do? You blame the blueprints. You blame the materials. You say that discipline doesn't work for me. No, the discipline is fine. It's that the foundation was sludge. You cannot build a rigid structure of discipline on a fluid base of lies. There is a concept in psychology called the identified victim effect. Usually this is how we feel empathy for a single specific person that we can see rather than a statistic of millions that we can't. We will donate millions to save one trapped puppy, but ignore the famine that's killing thousands. But I want to flip this concept inward. You are the identified victim in your own life. Because you live inside your own head, you see your own struggle in high definition, 4K resolution. You feel your own fatigue. You know your own trauma. You have infinite empathy for your own self. You'll look at yourself and you'll say, oh, you poor thing. You had such a hard day. You don't need to push. You need self-care. The worst thing you can do is weaponize compassion against your own self-potential. You treat yourself like a wounded animal that needs to be nursed rather than a man who needs to be led. This is not self-love. Actually, this is self-sabotage. When you look at yourself from the outside, when a stranger looks at your data, they are not so kind. You will see a man who wastes 4 hours a day on his phone. You will see a man who breaks his promises, who is capable of more, but settles for less. You must stop being the identified victim. You must be the cold auditor. Okay, so that was powerful, but the next concept is where we actually reclaim your power. Carl Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is the shadow work. The shadow contains everything that you refuse to admit to yourself. Usually we think of the shadow as evil, but for the nice guy or the drifter, the shadow also contains your power. To be truly honest, you have to admit that you are not just a victim. Turns out, you are also a villain. You are the one sabotaging your life. You are the one hurting your family for not showing up. And you are the one stealing from your future self. When you admit this, when you say, I am the problem, it sounds depressing, yet it is the most empowering thing in the world. Because when you are the problem, then you are the solution. When the problem is the economy, or your wife, or the government, you are helpless. You are a leaf in the wind. But when the problem is you, then you have the power to fix it. Extreme accountability is the ultimate form of optimism. Now the question you're probably thinking is, how do I actually fix this foundation? How do we drain the swamp and pour the concrete? Well, we must dismantle the ego's defense team. We must fire the lawyer. You're fired! The first step is the no explanation policy. Explanation are the ego's favorite tool. I didn't do it because, stop. The sentence ends with, I didn't do it. When you explain, you are asking for validation. You are asking for the other person or yourself to say, it's okay. It is not okay. When you fail, you fail. Own the failure without the footnote. I missed the workout. I lost my temper. I blew the budget. Period. Sit in the discomfort of the period. Do not rush to the comma. Pain is information. When you touch a hot stove, the pain tells you to move your hand. When you fail, the shame tells you to change your behavior. But what do? You take the painkiller. You numb the shame with Netflix or with food or an excuse. The worst thing you can do for your growth is take the painkiller. Instead, feel the burn. When you feel like a loser because you didn't do the work, good. You should feel like a loser because you lost. Use that pain. Let it sear into your brain. Pain is the only teacher that the ego respects. The ego loves narrative. The truth loves data. Your ego will say that I work hard. The data will say your screen time is 5 hours and your productive work is only 2. Your ego says that I'm a good dad, but the data will reveal that the total time spent actually being fully present with your kids is 45 minutes. You must become obsessed with the data. Track everything. The bank account, the calories, the screen time, the reps. Numbers do not have feelings, and numbers do not have lawyers. Numbers simply tell the truth. We are going to conduct a forensic audit of your life. Just like the IRS audits a business suspected of fraud, you are suspected of fraud. Here's the protocol. You cannot lie about a standard that does not exist. When your goal is to be healthy, that is too vague, and your ego can wiggle out of that. I ate a salad, so I'm healthy. You need a cage. It needs to be specific. Something like, I eat 200 grams of protein and 0 grams of sugar. Now there is no wiggle room. You either did it or you didn't. Ambiguity is the breeding ground of the lie, but clarity is the disinfectant. You must develop a lie detector in your own head, and it happens in the flinch. The moment you mess up, you feel a tiny flinch in your gut, and immediately after the flinch, the voice starts talking. It's okay because, or just this once. That is the voice of the lawyer. When you hear him, tell him to shut up. Say it out loud if you have to. Stop lying. Call it what it is. I am feeling lazy right now. I am afraid of doing this work. Name the demon, because when you name it, you control it. Lies grow in the dark, but they die in the light. You must also externalize the truth. You need a truth partner, not a friend that will comfort you. Instead, you need a friend that will hold the mirror. Tell them, I lied to myself today. I said that I was tired, but really, I was procrastinating. When you speak the lie out loud, it will sound ridiculous and it loses its power. If and when you don't have a partner, write it down. Hand to paper. I am failing because I am choosing comfort over duty. See it in the ink. This process is not fun. Draining the swamp is messy. It smells and it's ugly. You will see things about yourself that you wish you hadn't. But once the swamp is drained, then you'll hit bedrock. And on bedrock, you can build. When you know that you can trust your own word, you become dangerous. When you know that you will not lie to yourself, you start to become undeniable. Because you know that when you say, I will do this, it is already done. There is no lawyer coming to save you. There is only the work. Now, I cannot force you to do this. You can click off this video right now and go back to the lawyer. He is waiting for you with a warm blanket and a nice story to tell you how good enough you are. And you can live in that house of cards until it falls. Or you can pick up the sledgehammer. You can break the glass. You can look at the reflection. When you are ready to see the truth, I have created a tool that will help you do it. I call it the mirror test. It is 10 questions, simple questions, but brutal questions. Questions like, what promise have I broken the longest? Or who pays the price for my lack of discipline? It is not a marketing funnel. Instead, it is a mirror. Download it, print it, and then go to a room alone. And for the first time in your life, tell the whole truth. The truth will set you free. But first, it'll piss you off. Get to work.